Great to have
Hi,
you
Aiko.
here. Thank you so much for doing
Thank,
the other Q&A. It was fantastic. I felt like you all really got into
thank
a
you.
good flow.
Yeah, it was flowing quite nice. It was my first time hosting a Q&A,
Mm.
especially at that level where there were six filmmakers I never met before and just enjoyed each one of their films. So I kind of felt like, wow, I'm really on the spot. But I think my method of addressing each person with the same kind of questions worked out well.
Yeah, no, you came across, it
Mhm.
was natural. And I feel like, because you've been in Q&As before, right? When you've taken your film to festivals and stuff.
Yeah, on the receiving end,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have, yeah,
Yeah, no, it is a bit different, but you got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your film. I just watched it again. So funny. It's just
I'm
so
happy. Yeah, I'm glad it's finally part of the festival.
I know, me
Thank
too.
you for accepting it. Yeah.
Of course, of course. I mean, it's such a significant production, I mean, nothing like it has really been made by a Vincentian. So it's really important to highlight it. And you've always been supportive of the festival, and you've always made yourself available to help out in whatever way. And we really appreciate that big time. Um, and yeah, like in terms of the film, like there's so many things that I noticed the first time I watched it and noticed again this time. um but I guess to start with, maybe we can jump in with like how did this idea begin for you? Like, where did the seed of it come from? Was it something that was kind of growing for you for a while, or
No, to be honest, I, as you know, I always had a passion for filmmaking,
Mhm.
but this was right after I completed New York Film Academy, and I'll always complain and say, "Oh, I wish I started filmmaking earlier," because there wasn't really any opportunities when I was in my college days at 17 years old. Whoa, what the frig? Oh God, that is so gross. You saw that, right?
Yes, I saw.
Jesus Christ, I hope it doesn't fly towards me. I don't know what to
You
do.
need to get your
Okay.
wife to come and handle that for you.
Yeah. Oh shit. I thought it was a small bug going across my screen, then I noticed it's actually behind me. Anyway, it's gone under the bed and it'll return whenever it wants to.
Yeah.
Back to the question.
Yes.
Um, so the yes, I always had a passion for filmmaking, and because when I was growing up, where I was, which was in Barbados at the time, there was no real filmmaking program for any college or university. It's not brand new, but relatively new compared to obviously to the other subjects. And the closest thing would have been photography or um, theater directing, I think, or just theater.
Hmm.
And um, of course, the two of those um, are very close to what you call it, to filmmaking, but the insecurities of a 17-year-old kind of direct you away from that. And what I mean by that is the narrative of photography studies is, oh yeah, it's a joke subject when it's not. But the 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 common social dialogue is, yeah, only people who don't know what they want to do with their life do that, and normally they choose psychology. Photography is for people who are just ready to skylark, and theater is for really passionate, eccentric people who don't really believe in financial incentives or commercial values and just want to express themselves and don't really get anywhere in life. These are just the common opinions of, I wouldn't say uneducated because that's quite offensive, but a narrow minded society. I can boldly say that because many people would agree with that. So I spent quite a few years of my life jumping between colleges and universities studying law and economics, as boring as it is. And that's mainly this choice subjects because of the prime minister that's still in power, Ralph, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, sorry. And I said, what would our prime minister do? Law and economics. Okay, well, I'll do that too, because he was very inspiring to me growing up, you know. Anyway, and then I was speaking to my father's business coach, who told me, look, Tolga, you need to identify what you want to do with your life, because your dad basically just hired me for an hour session to figure out why are you so uninterested in your work. And the work was, I was a SOP developer, which is standard operational procedures developer, for the CCTV software at his security firm. And that's extremely mundane and boring work, but that was a position I got at the company, and I was miserable. So she helped me realize that I would live a very toxic life if I had taken out a loan on a car that I really wanted, if I started renting an apartment with my girlfriend at the time, and I would have been miserable because I would have just done what most people do, which is do their 9 to 5 and drink, you know, or do other substances, or find a substance in your life that provides happiness and makes you forget about your miserable job or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So anyway, I saved up some money, and I was able to pay for myself through website design development to go to school at New York. And I met a fantastic group of students who were all around my age. We all fell in love with each other's energies. And when we finished the course, I was like, okay, well, it's not going to end now. I need to do something. And I was close friends with Seth, the lead actor of the film. And I said, you know what, Seth, let's just bounce off of each other and create a story. And he was very helpful with bouncing off ideas with me and so on. But I had shut myself down and closed off a bit and just wrote a story that was revolving around what would Seth do in a situation that I would put him in. And I wanted to incorporate the church. I wanted to incorporate gang violence. I wanted to incorporate scams. I wanted to incorporate Barbados going through an economic crisis. And boom, the script was born within 8 weeks.
Amazing.
And I convinced all of my filmmaker friends from school to come to Barbados with no upfront pay, but in exchange for shares of the film at the time, if it were to make any profits. And lo and behold, it did.
Amazing. Do you think that so you talked a little bit about how you kind of were trying to find your direction, right? And you were pushing back against some of these sort of conventional social ideas about whether one could be creative.
Aiko, hold on.
Yeah, you find it? Oh, we need it flying after you.
No, it was in a perfect spot on the wall. Anyway.
What you have there?
I just thought I could. No, it was my daughter's pants. Go on. Sorry, I totally missed the question.
No, I was rambling anyway. I hadn't finished the question. But what I was basically getting to was, do you think that, you talked a little bit before in the other Q&A about, these strategies for monetizing your work as a Caribbean filmmaker with these sorts of limitations that we have.
Yeah.
Do you think that your background, your studies that you did before you came to filmmaking, like did that kind of, has that helped you in some way with that kind of business side of things, or looking at things from that side?
No, absolutely not, because the film school, unless you go into production and film business, then that's where you would learn that. Because the course that I did was all about the creativity, how it's done, the process of sound recording, why you have to hit between minus 12 decibels to minus 6. It was all about filmmaking, nothing about film business.
So where did you learn that? So, like, because I meant, yeah.
So you see, the thing about the question is the stuff is basically trial and error. Unfortunately, it cost. Luckily, we were able to make back what we lost in, for example, advertising in the Caribbean, when we had it on Vimeo first before Amazon Prime. We lost about $3,000 just advertising. Watch this film now, rent it for $2.99 or buy it for $7.99. You know, we later learned through CIBC Barbados's consultant that, and he's a very Peter Hall. He's a very passionate Jamaican living in Barbados. He's a very passionate. He's not a passionate Jamaican living in Barbados. He's a passionate Caribbean historian slash rights activist for Caribbean people, who is a Jamaican living in Barbados. And he was the one that told me that the Caribbean people or West Indians don't have credit cards as they do in Europe and in the US. And it is because there is a lack of security trust that the people of the Caribbean will be able to facilitate their loans on the credit card payments. They don't believe that they would be able to pay back. They make the qualifications extremely difficult. And the sickening part is, if you don't have a job that's over $1,100, which is relatively close to the US minimum wage, monthly salary. If you don't have that salary, then you can't qualify for a credit card unless you have 3,000 something US cash at bank, of which you can then borrow back and pay on an interest. It doesn't make any sense, right? Now, there is the Visa debit, which has completely revolutionized online buying and selling of merchandise and goods. But I believe only one bank does that, and that's CIBC again. RBTT or RBC and Scotiabank, a lot of them in the Caribbean, unfortunately, I don't mean to give bad publicity, but they do not have Visa debit cards for these people. They have ATM cards, or they have to qualify for a credit card, and the rules are extremely strict. Anyway, so we learned our lesson that there's not enough credit cards to be able to purchase the film or rent it. So I had to come up with a way where, first I started speaking with local television networks in St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Barbados. Tried to sell it to them for a 3-year contract, but they weren't really sure. Then they wanted to do a 70-30 split, where 70 would come to us, 30 would stay to them, percentage of revenue. But all of them, and Tempo Network, they were happy to be part of it too. But all of them were like, okay, well, that's the agreement, but you have to go find the clients. So I'm like, okay, I have to go find the clients, but you guys already have a list of clients. Oh yeah, but we wouldn't want you to use our clients because they're providing income for our content. This is for your content. We're just providing you a platform. So I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go find a platform somewhere else. You suckers. And then I found all the advertisers, and put it online on Vimeo, geolocked to the country with those ads. And I did it for St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Vincent, and Barbados. And despite it being pandemic and Corona times, there were people who were able to financially pay for their ad space and received a lot of exposure through the film. So it's all a matter of being squeezed into a corner, and you have to be desperate enough to figure out a way to make money with your product.
Yeah.
And whether it's a 2-minute short film or a 90-minute feature, if you are creative enough to figure out, or well connected enough with some business people to figure out how can I make money off of what I've done because I have a product, then your opportunities and options are as limited as you are and vast as you're willing to go.
I think that's very well put. No, I think that that's great. And I mean, I think more and more as we kind of develop filmmaking, you know, within St. Vincent, where our festival is based as well, I think that this kind of thinking in terms of how we really expand the business side of it is going to become even more and more important. And actually, as you were talking about it before, like my mom texted me and she was like, oh, that's so interesting what he's saying. And maybe we could, you know, maybe he could do like a little seminar or a chat about that at some point.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to provide that information.
Because I think that's like something that is really important because, you know, and we were even talking about this in the Q&A last night with all the Vincentian filmmakers, you know, like, yeah, we have the passion, we have the talent, but at the same time, like we need to be bringing in revenue. We need to be building these models that can make this sustainable, right? So
absolutely,
the
yeah.
festival is like generating those conversations and opening those doors. So to go back to the film, what you said, because there's so much that is just great about it. Like, I think there's so many funny little details, like so many amazing one-liners and like, you know, just like little, you know, even down to the ringtone, rice and peas, rice, you know, all these little things that you're just like, you just can't help to chuckle at, you know, they're so good. And you know, oh yeah, like if you share, I loved also like if you share the sin, can you split the sin 50-50, like all these little things. And what I was hearing when you talked before is that you had, it's almost like the film arose out of these ideas, like the characters of Seth, right? Seth, and then you're like, okay, I also want to include religion and I want to include these aspects, and then it's like it came out of those things. Is that how this?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you can feel that because Seth's character, he's like this, and it's so interesting because one thing that's at the heart of this as well is like what you mentioned before, like being caught in a situation where you can't find any work, right? You have bills to pay, you have this shit going on, and people are squeezed to a point where they're just like, well, fuck it, you know, like, you know, and it's kind of like that border, that kind of like that moral border that, you know, when you're in a difficult position in life, you kind of tread on that border. And I think that that's something that's really accessible in terms of like dealing with difficult situations. But yeah, I think like, and the way that, you know, you use comedy, and I think also like there's lots of really strong, you know, like you borrowed kind of like from that sort of what is it, like the Western showdown vibes. And you know, the scene where she's putting on the clothes and stuff, like there's these things that make it really well written, well structured, and I can see there's a lot of deliberate intention. Like, so did you learn about all of these, about story structure like that in your course, or did a lot of that come out of your own observations?
No, well, the closest thing to that would be that we did continuity, but that doesn't really have much to do with story structure.
Mm,
Um, I must say I learned a lot from YouTube.
yeah.
I must say that. But I love telling stories, and even in English school, where you have literature or English language as subjects, you're told that you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then as you develop into your studies, you have a thesis, an opening paragraph, a body, a closing thesis, and a conclusion. And that goes on into all forms of art, especially filmmaking,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess music videos too. It just continues on.
Mm-hmm.
So that came naturally because the filmmaking course was all about script writing. Um, there were two scenes that were deleted from the film because I remembered my script. What do you call them? Well, a professor who deals with writing, screenplay development and writing, who says if the story does not, if the moment does not progress the story, then it is not necessary. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a unnecessary break that
Yeah.
does nothing for the film. It
Gonna
doesn't
slow the
push it
momentum.
forward. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he said, just keep it sailing and pushing forward. And unfortunately, King Bubba was in that scene, and that was what was deleted. But anyway, yeah, that was a natural talent, I would say, because um, yeah, the next closest thing is I learned about montage.
Mm.
So when you're talking
Like
about
the
her dressing and so on and so,
Kuleshov effect.
sorry,
The Kuleshov effects. You know about the Kuleshov effect?
no,
That's like
not
an
as brilliant as
early
you.
Russian sort of editing effects that was basically like the idea was that if you just have somebody just film somebody with a neutral expression and
Mm-hmm.
then you cut an image like say of a innocent looking baby, then people will
Right.
project onto the face based on what the image that comes after is.
Oh,
So if
right.
there's like a man
Okay.
there and then you cut to like a woman on the beach, they'll be like, oh, he looks a
You
little bit
understand.
creepy, you know.
Creepy,
But
yeah.
yeah, essentially it's the same kind of sort
Right.
of idea as montage,
I
the power of editing.
I saw um I saw what's his name? Um the I can't remember his name at this very moment, but he did Psycho.
Oh, Alfred
Um
Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah,
Alfred Hitchcock. I saw an interview where he talked about that too. So
yeah,
maybe that's what he's referring to. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I learned about montage and how it progresses stories also. But the timeline structure really came from the script writing.
Yeah.
And I did have someone from the Bahamas International Film Festival. Shout out to Leslie Vanderpool. I did have one of her Canadian members of the script panel that produces Bahamian written stories, short stories. Um, I had them review the script, and she had said she would give it at the structure and body a 7 out of 10. So that
Mm-hmm.
was quite a good review for a first time feature script. And she did help me kind of said, why is this there and why should it be there? And
Mm-hmm.
maybe Seth should, so she did guide me a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think that idea of thinking about like really knowing who your characters are and then asking
Hmm.
like, okay, my character is this person, like, what would they do in this scenario? You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I
That
think
helped a
that's,
lot too.
yeah. And you can tell from your film that, it's got this really strong structure. But I wanted to ask a little bit about the specifics of the production because making a feature film is
Sure.
not a walk in the park.
No.
Especially when you're straight out of school and it's the first feature film
Yeah.
that you've made. And I noticed like a number of people that I recognize in the movie. So it felt like it was a kind of family effort even.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like Donald Trump said, I just got a small loan of $1 million. No, I spent 4 months saving up my money, which was 10,000 US dollars. And I rented the film equipment, and I had a $5,000 budget for housing the actress that was in the film, and my two other what do you call them, filmmaker friends, but they were the assistant director and the production manager, right? Not because I'm trying to give a job opportunity of a filmmaker to someone from abroad, but because I knew that I only had 1 month to film.
Yeah.
And based on productions that were done in Barbados, feature films, it's always, I can only do it in the weekend. Why? Because in a reality, people have jobs to be able to earn a living, and they can commit their passion at night or on their weekends if it's available.
Right.
So I thought, okay, well, I only have a month to do this with Seth because I wasn't living in Barbados. I was living in the Bahamas. And I needed to make sure that nobody could complain that there's a reason why they can't come to work.
Yeah.
So I kind of got very lucky, I would say, by choosing very close friends to be the crew, because the only, I wouldn't say real filmmakers, the only committed filmmakers, because anyone with a camera can be a filmmaker, was the Americans, myself, Seth, and I think that's it. Everyone else, my sister, who was production manager, had nothing to do with filmmaking, but she took the role perfectly.
Yeah.
Richard's best friend, I taught him how to operate a Zoom H5N, with the knobs, and I said, okay, you see this bar every time it's moving when I'm talking, don't make it go past 6, -6, and don't make it go below -12.
The sound is a
And
big deal as well. Like,
yeah, of course.
yeah.
And I'm trusting it to a guy who never did it
Never
before.
done it before. For a
Yeah,
feature
and
film. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I did have to shout at him a lot because when I'm re-listening to, you plug in your headphone and listen to it, I'm like, why is he sounding like he's going into another room and then coming back? That's not what I saw. So that means the dial wasn't right, or the boom was 1 minute here and then 1 minute it's up in the sky,
Yeah.
Anyway.
A little bit stressful.
Yeah.
Working
No,
like
I mean,
that.
yeah, but my methodology is to criticize comedically where it can be dismissed.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Your arm's tired? Stop jerking off. Excuse me. Stop jerking off so late at night, maybe.
Yeah.
And everyone on the set would laugh. It's not appropriate, but I get my anger out, and he kind of gets where I'm trying to go. Instead of just saying, "Stop messing around, do it properly." At least there's some joke in there.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because like as a director, you do really have to think about how to manage your team, right? And like how to communicate with them in the way, because sometimes you're working really long hours. You need to do a scene over and over again, and everyone's tired, and there needs, I think, and every director will have their own way of working, but I think it's so fitting that yours would be to make these little jokes. Like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but that's just in my personality to be
Exactly,
on the spot get witty remarks.
Yeah.
Everyone in the room gets it that I'm not being harsh and serious, but it's like a moment of relief to laugh, and the person who's on the other end of the stick that's kind of getting hit is the one who would say, okay, I better just fix myself or whatever, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But again, really took care of those crew peeps, because
Yeah. You have to.
I made sure there were drinks at the end.
Yeah.
We all kind of like wound down at 10:30 until 1 o'clock. We would wind down and just talk about everything outside of the film. Just,
Yeah.
express each other's day-to-day life. Somebody's talking about a relationship issue they're having. Another person is talking about car troubles.
Yeah.
So I kind of made them feel welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's crucial. Everybody needs to like
Mhm.
be taken care of in that
Of
kind
course,
of
yeah.
situation, because that all comes out in the film. Like
Hmm.
um I wanted to ask also about the character, that the assassin.
Oh yeah.
Where did you where did you get that guy from? That was just
Yeah. Um, Daba the Visual is his stage name. I can't remember um, his full real name because he introduces himself as Daba, and he wanted to be listed on the credits as Daba the Visual. I don't think he ever told me his real name. Anyway, the character was originally written for me because I wanted to give that goofy, psychotic Jim Carrey assassin. But
right.
in the middle of the shoot, when we finally got approval from the Barbados Film Commission that we were allowed to use a highway, I started to get super nervous, and I thought, wow, I really need to be behind the camera. So I told Seth, you need to find someone who is very outgoing and a good actor. And he says, I know the perfect person. He showed me a video of Daba whining on a girl on a stage where he was performing one of his pieces of music. And he was a movie on the stage. It was hilarious. And I said, oh my God, okay, would he be willing to do this? And he said, absolutely. And when I met him, Aiko, this guy brought so much positive energy to the set.
Mm.
Everybody loved him. He was committed. He came. He had his glasses on, reading the script, going over and
Oh.
over, in the white robe with his gold sprayed boxers. Um,
Had he been in a film
it
before?
him? No, it was his
No.
first time.
Oh, yeah.
Closest thing would have been a music video that he shot with some friends, as
Yeah.
we all do.
Yeah.
And the yeah, his commitment, his energy, his discipline, it was all there. And he took the character super serious, and he absolutely loved it and owned it. And he brought his own personality to it and hit the nail on the head,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great moment, and it's almost like in some regards because there's a moment when they make the decision to like give up trying to have a normal job, and they're just like, you know what, we're going to cross over to the dark side now, essentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they go into this dark side, and they sort of go down and down, and that's kind of like the underbelly is like this weird, this guy that has these weird sexual fetishes, and is an assassin, and he's got all these girls dressed, and it's sort of like a complete sort of opposite point to where they were before, like when you think about when they
Exactly. Yeah.
meet on
Yeah.
the
Were they?
beach,
Mhm.
or so I think that as well, like, uh kind of, is a really strong part of the story structure, like that this dark
Mhm.
space that they enter.
Yeah. Wow, I
um
should really think over my life. I'm the dark space. Anyway.
Well, we all, you know, I mean, that's a part of life, like, and part of art
Yeah.
is like, you know, that's, you know, storytelling. Like, I've been really into like thinking about what makes stories work and why we love them, you know, and like almost archetypal story structures. And this is like, even, you know, the oldest stories, it's this battle between the light and the dark, you know, and it just takes all of these different forms throughout the ages. But you know, it's essentially at the heart there's this basic idea, you know, and that's because that exists within us, that struggle as well. Like, we all have choices to
Mm-hmm.
make in our lives, and you know, and that's something I think that we really connect to in all of these films. And in some ways we need to see these spaces played out. um
Yeah,
you know, I've got
absolutely.
a little information here from our audience. Lots of great
Okay,
comments about the film. The audience
nice.
enjoyed the appearance of the cockroach earlier in the Q&A. Bonnie Roudette says, "Cockroach, come for an audition." Nancy Sol Demers, sorry if I'm butchering your name, is curious to know, what was the most challenging aspect of making this movie?
Um, okay, so because everyone was not working for money up front, the local team, uh, their enthusiasm and energy all had to be kind of, how do you say, like reignited every now and again,
Mhm.
because you can see on their face that they're tired, they're drained, they're starting to doubt, is Tolga even going to get it into one cinema? Is it just going to go to a festival and nobody's going to see it, you know?
Did
And
those doubts affect you? Like, did you see that and were you like,
absolutely, it
oh
affected
shit?
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was to the point where, okay, so Blake Grudzian, who was the production manager and the assistant director, they would switch hats with Yishi, my sister, and Christian Cabrera. But Blake was the chief of those two titles. And his energy and passion for the film was equal to mine. So he was my rock when I was feeling down. And it kind of helped me when I felt, wow, this is really sucky, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes he would step in and represent me when I couldn't. And I would go in and do the same when I had to. But I would say um, it's very difficult to control your actors, very difficult to control key crew members, even though you're giving them food, alcohol, snacks. You're all no one's driving their own cars. It's all about all the transportation is being provided. That's another thing. If anyone is making a feature film, the director should never drive himself, because he should not be getting stressed for finding parking
Yeah.
and exhausted from a
I
journey.
take
Although
it you were
it sounds
driving
kind of,
yourself.
I was.
Yeah.
It sounds snobbish, but to arrive on set already frustrated and tired is not going to look good on the recording. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
No, of course, yeah.
So it sounds snobbish to say, "Oh, directors shouldn't drive themselves." If you have to, you have to.
It's practical.
But if yeah,
Yeah.
it's practical to do it. But if you can find a friend, say, "Look, okay, man, look, I'm going to give you 1% of the profits." If it's a film that is going to be beneficial in, so not beneficial. If it's a film that's going to be successful, 1% is a 3 month salary for some people. You know, so it's a hit or miss, but you have to offer something solid to these people.
Yeah.
And at that point, at the same time, like I was saying, they weren't getting paid up front, and I kept saying, "Ooh, we're gonna be going to this cinema, that cinema, blah blah blah." I had to constantly feed them truth. I'm not BSing with anybody or
Yeah.
feeding them lies. I had to really tell them, oh my God, bro, can you imagine if you make XYZ amount of money, how much you're going to be getting? We can do XYZ together. And, anyway,
Yeah.
um, so that was the difficult part. It was to keep everybody motivated, keep
Yeah.
everybody committed. That was the biggest difficult and most challenging part.
Do you feel like making the film changed you?
Absolutely. One, I became impressed with myself. That may sound like a splash of narcissistic behavior or like a Salt Bay spread of narcissism. Like you egotistical MF. Anyway,
Thing of ego.
no, I'm it made me more proud of myself,
Yeah.
especially when I hear other people saying, "Wow, you made a feature film." I'm like, "Holy S word."
Yeah.
You cursed earlier, so I'll curse too.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I made a feature
If there's
film.
any children here that just watched that film, parents, no.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was PG-13 and Amazon has it as PG-16, so
Yeah,
your fault, parents. Anyway,
exactly. Sort it out.
um uh I became impressed with myself. People would tell me, "Wow, you made a feature film. That's fantastic, pat on your back. Wow, you made a feature film with regional release. That's fantastic. Pat on your back. Wow, you have a film on this platform, that platform. Fantastic. You won this award, that award. Fantastic." It doesn't end there. And it's not a thing to say how I introduce myself as, "Hi, I'm Tolga Akcayli. I'm a accolade of this filmmaker." I don't do that. But at the end of the day, it's something to be proud of, you know?
Absolutely. Especially when you know
So,
what you had to
mhm,
go through to get there and those moments of doubt, and those moments of struggle.
mhm. Yeah. So it changed me in terms of me becoming more confident in what I'm capable of doing, and the experiences where I learned about um, how to monetize your film in the Caribbean. That was an experience that made me understand film business coming from the Caribbean even more. And this is something I'm willing to share in abundance. So if you want to organize
Yeah.
a film business panel, I would be extremely elated to be delivering on that. But yeah, so it creating a feature film gave me lots of experiences and developed me as a person.
Yeah. 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 I mean, from my personal life experience, I've, the stuff that you really struggle with, or, these accomplishments, like, they require so much. You end up discovering stuff about yourself you didn't know before, like, whoa, I can handle that, I can carry that, and I can carry it
Yeah,
well. So, and that's really, as you get older, a very reassuring thing to learn, I think. You're like,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
um we got a comment here from Future Smith Vonley.
Oh, okay,
That was
Wanley, nice.
yeah, that it was a very entertaining film, and the soap drop scene was funny, and Seth is an amazing actor.
Absolutely, he is. Yeah,
There's a little bit of everything in this film too. There's like a little bit of toilet
yeah.
humor, a little bit of just like hits all of these notes.
hmm
Um,
hmm
what's next for you, Tolga? Part two of this movie. It does kind of end in that way where
Right. So the unfortunate thing about this is it kind of got its super launch when it won in south of France at the Nice International Film Festival, and the um, what do you call that? Best Fiction Film finalist at New York in the beginning of 2020. And if you look outside, Aiko, the world shut down,
Did
you
it
know?
already?
So I had a few people saying, yo, I want to be a part of number two. I want to be a part of number two. Can't wait. Call me. Tolga, I'm on your next crew. The entire crew, by the way, and all the actors are saying, yo, I'm in the next one,
Yeah,
right? Because they see the potential, they see the reach, etc.,
yeah,
etc. And it pays. But man, come on, 2020 and still going. Nobody came and said, yo, Tolga, here's some money to make the next movie,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And I I wouldn't make Too Lickrish 2, although it ends as if it's going to come. I wouldn't make Too Lickrish 2 from my own pocket the way I made the first one, simply because I want to, as a filmmaker, explore other stories,
right,
you know?
yeah,
Um, if someone says, okay, look, Tolga, we've raised this amount of money, what can we do? I'm absolutely all for it,
yeah,
you know? But I have a next project coming. It revolves around a um, West in a West Indian folklore creature. I won't say which one yet, and it haunts a destination wedding in the Caribbean.
oh, is it a comedy as well?
That no.
No,
It's a thriller, a
okay,
thriller horror.
nice. Is it
It's
a
not like
feature
that.
or a short
A feature.
feature?
Yeah. Um, feature films are uh, commercially easier to manage
Yeah,
as a product. Um, I haven't come. I have a few short films. Um, when I say a few, I have 3 short films that I would love to produce, but I am I want the budget to make it properly done.
yeah,
I want to pay what do you call it? It was missing a lot in Too Lickrish. I want to be able to pay a studio $15,000 in the near future. I'm sure I'll be able to do this. I want to be able to pay a film studio $15,000 to do sound design and Foley.
mhm,
I want to be able to pay $40,000 for a composer to decide what kind of music this scene is going to have. You know,
yeah,
that's my end goal for feature film. So scale that down to 1/10 for short film. I want to be able to pay 1,500 US for Foley and sound design. I want to be able to pay 4,000 US for proper music for a short film, you know?
yeah,
Because for these stories, um, there's 2 types of filmmakers. Those that want to get the story told no matter what, and those are the ones that are usually close, very close to the story. And there are ones that are not as close and passionate as those ones are, but wanted to get it artistically perfect, which is a major issue because you don't get things produced at the end of the day, you know, and sucks for you if it gets done by someone else and your story becomes irrelevant,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So it's like uh, a hit or miss slash gamble situation with short films, but feature film, I'm all for it. I'm um, doing creative ways on raising money, and yeah, that's the next project. That's the next project. I don't want to reveal too much.
no, don't, just a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
We're I can't wait to, yeah, hear more about it and see it
Hmm.
eventually. That's really exciting. I feel so excited by where we are right now in terms of the stuff that's coming out of St. Vincent and the Caribbean in general. I feel like there's a lot of
Absolutely. Yeah.
really good momentum, and maybe it's, just a matter of time before, I think, because the quality of the work will speak for itself, before.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mhm.
Jamali Jack says, I noticed a lot of FCP licensed tracks were used. Were there any considerations or challenges to having original music? What's FCP licensed tracks?
Um,
I don't know what that is.
let me Google it. But I used musicbed.com. FCP
The music
license.
was all really perfect. It all
Yeah,
really
so
worked.
musicbed, I would recommend this to. Oh, Final Cut Pro.
Final Cut
Okay,
Pro.
yeah.
Okay.
No, I I understand what he's saying. There are a few
Yeah.
scenes that do have FCPX jingles, but a lot of the tracks were from musicbed.com.
It's good to know.
I actually had to pay $199 US for 32 tracks to be able to legally get it on Amazon.com.
Okay.
199 US dollars per track.
Okay.
That was like, hey, you want to make movies? Here's the truth.
Yeah.
Financial ruin.
Want to follow your
Because you
passion?
don't, yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to be an artist? Come
Oh,
here.
here's a punch in the face. Should have
Yeah.
stayed
So,
doing that CCTV job.
yeah, you should have stayed. No, but it's a huge risk though. I mean, you get it approved on Amazon, so it kind of it has potential. So you don't really doubt yourself when you get that to that point.
Yeah.
But okay, sure, a guy on Amazon thinks it's great, but does the rest of the world who are actually the ones who is going to go and pay for it? You know?
Yeah.
So it was worth it. I mean, it's not worth it. It was required, and we covered the expenses.
It was required. There was no choice.
Yeah, there was no choice. Do you want to go to jail or anyway? Yeah. So what's the guy's name? Jamali?
Jamali, yeah.
Yeah, Jamali. To be honest with you, I would say 10% was FCPX tracks, but we have 32 songs in there, with lyrics, without lyrics, instrumentals, with oohs and ahs, without oohs and ahs. That some tracks were just like 15 seconds, but we were legally required to purchase the full license.
Right.
And now the question he had asked is, is it difficult to get original music? Yes, of course it is. Like I was saying earlier, you pay a composer 40,000 US in America for him to be able to get instruments together or get an orchestra together. You might add another $20,000. Oh, what about existing Caribbean music? Hi, welcome to the real world. I'm not being insulting. Welcome to the real world. These guys are also artists who are trying to make money with their music content. You have to pay them money. And it's not the same mass scale as MusicBed, where they have thousands and thousands of pieces of music. So it's scaled down to $199 per song. I had approached some artists. I won't reveal who they are, but they were asking between 500 to 1,200 roughly US dollars per song.
Right.
And for me, where I can buy 5 tracks
Yeah.
versus 1 track, unfortunately, I made the choice to go with 5 tracks
Yeah.
because we needed 32 pieces of non Final Cut Pro X
Yeah.
music to make the film what it was.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I would love. I really, there are so many moments like Rice and Peas.
Mm.
I legally was able to get away with that because it was less than 6 seconds and it wasn't the original audio. It was crunched to sound like a ringtone.
Yeah.
Once you go beyond 6 seconds, if it was a full original as is audio, you have to pay these guys big money,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that was the only real Caribbean song in there. Or I don't like saying Caribbean. I like saying West Indian piece of music that was in there. All the others were musicbed.com.
Yeah. Because I mean, you do, when you're on a tight budget, you have to make those choices that, because it's
Yeah,
really the quality of the film that lies in the balance that overall you
exactly.
have to,
Yeah.
um, every that has to be the priority. Were there any scenes
Mhm.
that you shot that you cut or that you changed during the shoot?
Yeah. So, what do you mean? While
Well,
I'm
like,
shooting?
were there any scenes that you wrote that you ended up not shooting, or any scenes that changed while you were
Yeah,
producing?
we had a scene that changed, um, because Seth had a previous obligation that he couldn't get out of, and all these public spaces, they were, some of them were free, some of them required close cost coverage, some weird
Yeah.
dialogue like that, for the hour. So we, for example, Chicken Barn, we only were able to use it for 3 hours,
Hmm.
and Seth on the spot had an emergency that he wasn't able to make it on time. So we shot the whole thing with just Ryan, Lucy, the actress, um, presenting herself to the cashier as Seth. But luck, not luckily, but that belonged to a segment that was part of that, what I was explaining to you earlier. Part of that doesn't project the film anywhere segment. So it was removed entirely anyway.
Okay.
Oh, another one that the the scene where they go inside the house with the showdown with the Western music. Again, that's music bed. Final Cut Pro doesn't have that kind of music production in their library. Um, that was on the spot. Okay, this room is very orange. I'm gonna make it a Western. It was supposed to be outside, but we were short for time because we were supposed to get another soca artist to fill the role of Blake, who was the American guy that represented DigiFlowZone. Right. So he had some comedic lines about himself as an artist that was supposed to be said in the
Hmm.
exchange, but he didn't show. We found out he wasn't showing up. He wasn't coming an hour into the time that was scheduled for the time of day we were shooting, and we had to rewrite Blake's dialogue to be funny but relevant to just DigiFlowZone as a guy, and not have any of the dialogue that the soca artist was supposed to have. And because of that, outside was too dark to shoot. We didn't have any lights in the entire film, and we went inside and we saw how orange it was, and I said, okay, Western, and we shot that scene inside.
And it's a great moment. It really was.
Yeah,
And
it was
and
fun.
narrowing the aspect ratio, was a really smart
Yeah,
way of
I
like.
the narrowing of the aspect ratio and so on came because it was so flat. I didn't like it. I hate that scene. I
Mm,
hate the way it looks. I hate the way it looks. It really cheapens the film, in my opinion.
mm,
All the outdoor films with bright daylight, in my opinion, are fantastic and look very clean.
hmm.
The background is at that 4 f-stop film style blur. It's not um, the YouTube filmmakers crave where it's supposed to be like a giant bubble bokeh,
Yeah.
but that 4 f-stop bokeh, where it looks kind of grainy. Um,
Yeah.
I find all the day shots are absolutely clean and beautiful. We had some fantastic ND filters, but where we had to all the scenes that were improvised were kind of flat because they had no planning
Yeah.
and looked cheap in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you found a great
So
creative
I said,
solution to that.
yeah, so I said, let me just reduce the background and put that in for most of it, and then didn't make any more sense.
It made me feel like it emphasized this like narrowing of eyes, like
Right,
squinting,
yeah, exactly.
Western.
Yeah, they were all squinting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Westerns are usually shot on 70 millimeter film.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy accidents. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Vonley asks if the film has met your financial expectations.
Oh yeah, for sure. beyond, because it was supposed to end at cinema, and then when we won in the south of France and we got the Amazon distribution, it was like a moment of joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that's when we were taught, because of Vimeo and Amazon, we were taught how to further incentivize.
Please remain silent for the best
Sorry.
results. This test is designed to ensure the best audio
I don't know how
quality
to turn that
experience
off.
during your Zoom meetings.
Sorry, everyone.
Once the test is completed, you will see the results on the screen. Thank you.
Okay,
Sounds
carry
like
on.
it sounds like one of those Black Mirror films where you're like being instructed by the government to just remain calm.
I mean, that might be subliminal messaging, because we're in the Soho House building here. They've let us use it.
Okay.
And it's
Oh, very
the
cool.
middle of the night. Yeah, it's so nice. So there's
Right.
nobody here, and it's lovely,
Right.
but it's, very intriguing with these different technologies. Anyway, continue.
Okay. What was I saying?
You talk about the financial expectations.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, and it taught us something very, very useful for all of the Caribbean filmmakers on a method and pretty much a workshop that should be designed on how filmmakers can take their content and make money with it. Yeah.
I feel like, something really, really cool has come out of that. And like you say, I think we should definitely, I'd love to build that into a workshop and share that information.
Absolutely, because everyone deserves to have this opportunity, in my opinion.
Yeah, life hacks, right? It's kind of like life hacks.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Jamali says to tell Tolga that he is Joanna Jack's brother, and Joanna says to shout him up, smiley face. Big up yourself. Next question is from Jamali too. Jamali says rice and peas was the bomb. Was it originally in the script, or was this decision made in post-production?
This was made in post-production, but the ringtone on the script, if you just allow me 2 seconds, I can tell you which Vibes Cartel song I had written that was supposed to ring. Reason being, I didn't want Vibes Cartel's team to come after me. I prefer anyone else.
Yeah, maybe not the guy that's in jail for life for double homicide.
Yeah, free will boss. Let me just quickly find the script. Oh my god, where are you? Where would it be? Oh, yeah, in a folder called Too Lickrish. Let me check that. Give me a second.
No worries. I mean, I feel like all these little details too, they just make up, like, they say, what do they say? The devil's in the details, or God is in the details. I don't know. One of them or both of them are in the details.
It's supposed to be devil, I think.
The devil. Okay.
I don't understand why though. Like,
I don't. Oh, maybe
why
it's
the devil?
like if you don't pay attention to the details, you can get
the
devil can get you, maybe. But that doesn't apply to what we're saying here.
Okay. I am struggling to locate it.
Find the song. You can sing it for us.
No. I want to see which specific Vibes Cartel song it was. Okay, Too Lickrish, final draft. Okay, and it was when he got the first job offer, when it first rang. Okay. Let me see. Let me search some language. Sorry, Aiko. I feel like I'm being really annoying now.
Guys, if you have any more questions, send them in. We're
gonna
wrap up.
So. It was Underwater by Vibes Cartel, Underwater.
What is that?
Oh my god, Aiko, where are you from, girl?
Which song is it? Maybe you're just not singing it good, boy.
Underwater. How are you supposed to sound? Underwater. Underwater by Babs Cartel.
Cool.
Boom, that's it on YouTube.
Cool.
And specifically why? Because he's underwater, he's unable to breathe, he's struggling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I literally, that wasn't a joke. I didn't want to have Vibes Cartel's people to tell me you can't use that song when legally you're allowed to, but I didn't want that issue.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else about the film, or any piece of profound wisdom you want to share, or any advice for people who might be thinking about making their own feature films? Or
I have an answer for all those things, but just can you choose one?
Okay, let's go with advice, maybe. Profound wisdom.
On what?
Let's do profound wisdom, because profound wisdom and advice can.
Okay, but on what
Profound
subject?
wisdom about film. Oh wow, life.
No, come on. No, I meant like on making your first feature film.
Yeah.
Yeah. On making your first feature film.
Yeah.
Okay. From learning Too Lickrish, right? It was a Bajan movie. A lot of the jokes, like that's the S from S.Y. Adams. Only a Barbadian is gonna know that joke, right? Shirley Biscuits, yeah, man, Shirley Biscuits. That's a Barbadian joke. Maybe it gets exported to the region, but it has that impact in Barbados only, right? Now, I'm not saying try make broad international reach films, but understand that if you make a film like Too Lickrish, where it's not fully, 80% Barbadian / West Indian humor,
yeah,
that's exactly who your audience is going to be.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how much money you could potentially make. There's a cap. Not calling out anybody from the UK, but I'm surprised that the UK on Amazon Prime, amazon.co.uk, it's 2 stars. And the reviews are like, it's a waste of money. It's awful reviews. It's a bad film. But when you go to the American one, all of the reviews are absolutely positive. Not a single critique, maybe one, but it has 4 stars. Maybe because that one critique that gave it 1 star, which has no comment. Anyway, all of them said this is Barbadian comedy at its best. Love seeing my people on the screen. Big up Seth, so happy to see you moving along your career path. All positive feedback from the Americans, right? Now, I'm not saying boo UK. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're going to put something in a market that it doesn't really belong to, don't be surprised when the feedback isn't what you want it to be.
Right.
Because that wasn't for them,
Right.
And the reason is this is kind of like a bit of a political segment, and of course Aiko will bring this out of you. But what I find funny is I'm a marketing analyst at Beachcombers Hotel, right? And from this skill that I taught myself from 2011, and I've been mastering it up to now, I made a mistake of putting British people who like Barbados to have this film shown to. Now, who told me to do that? Because
that's
British
not the
people
side of Barbados they want to see.
No, because they're old, retiree, excuse me for saying this, but white, snobby people who are offended about everything Too Lickrish has to say, So they're the ones that saying, what is it? You know?
What's
So
this
when
soap scene?
yeah, where's the villa? Go back to the villa they were at. How much is it per night? Anyway, uh, um, so, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the type of people that like to travel to Barbados. Barbados relies on these people.
Mhm.
Barbados is unfortunately struggling financially because there's no tourism at the moment, and they call Barbados Little England because that's everybody's winter destination from the UK.
Mhm.
But that was the wrong audience to target this film. So that's when I said, okay, British people who like Barbados, and then it went from 14 million people to 600,000 people when you put Caribbean, Caribbean background or West Indian heritage, those
Yeah.
kind of words that kind of cover the mass. So I put enjoys soca music,
Yeah.
enjoys rotis, don't laugh, West Indian heritage, because Facebook marketing tool doesn't really have too many things that can really differentiate people that like Barbados and really identify them as um, West Indians.
Yeah.
Anyway, so once I got that, then the sales reflected and the positive comments started to come in.
That's
So yeah,
yeah.
understand your film can be anything you want it, but understand your audience. Okay, understand your audience, because you will hurt your own feelings if you put your film into a place where it doesn't, not
Yeah.
that it doesn't belong, but where it isn't meant for.
Yeah. Where it can't be
You know?
seen properly for what it might
Exactly,
be.
where it can
Not
be
being
enjoyed, because
interpreted. Yeah.
yeah, there are people who commend me and say they love the film, and it makes me feel like I'm literally getting tears when they tell me this, and I'm holding it
Yeah.
back. But then you read some of these reviews on UK Amazon, you feel like, "Oh, why did I make this movie? I'm gonna delete it." That's how you feel. That's how they make you feel. Then you jump over to the US and you're like, okay, I feel good. I'm happy I did this. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So yeah, reach your audience that it was meant for.
Yeah.
Even
Because I was
even if
actually
it's yeah.
go ahead.
No, even if it's a controversial film where you're trying to prove a point, reach the audience it's meant
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
If you're trying to teach a lesson to somebody else, make sure it goes there, because that's the incentive,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the most important thing. And once you do that, everything else will fall into place and your financials will reflect that.
Because I was gonna ask, actually, I had it written down here somewhere when I was thinking about comedy, and because comedy can be very culturally specific, right? It's like,
Of course,
and
which this was.
yeah, yeah, and even
Mm.
for people who aren't in Barbados, like there's certain things that I wouldn't get, but majority of it I get because I understand Caribbean humor and but yeah, but and even thinking about the conversation you all had earlier, just thinking about that and something, whether it lands or not, can be very culturally specific.
Yeah, like even the short filmmaker Chuku,
Mm-hmm.
he himself admitted that, this is a film that was made for Barbadians and some West Indians would be able to understand it, but it was for a West Indian audience.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah, exactly. So he would know then, like, oh, of course, this audience might not respond in that way, and you're able to then understand intellectually how your work is being received, maybe rather than taking it personally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I took it personally. Yeah.
Understandable,
Mm-hmm.
because and also, like, I think that's the process that was needed for you to figure out, like, oh, targeting audience, like
Yeah.
isn't for everybody.
Yeah, I'm not. Again, I just wanted to make it clear that I wasn't blaming anyone, and I
No,
wasn't
you're
saying,
sort
"Oh,
of
these guys."
objectively just saying.
Yeah, I'm saying that you have to be careful with where this film goes. You're going to upset people because you make a fantastic trailer, and it piques their interest, and then they watch it and it wasn't for them, and they feel like they were ripped off,
Yeah.
and they will share with the world in a harsh critique in the comment section.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
comment section. The comment section. Who's making that film? Jeez. One more question from Jamali. I'm curious about Tolga's media management workflow for the film. Media management workflow.
How is he communicating with you?
He's been putting these there. All the comments come on the live chat, and then Ben writes them down and sends them.
Okay. I want to know what he means by media management. But the entire production was managed by Blake. He made daily call sheets. He had schedules put up, all professionally done, templates that we got offline, easy to understand. We had a board with every single day running up to 32 days. And he thought this is how it's going to be. And I told him, okay, well, we have the location at this day, this day, this day, this day, this day. And then he just shuffled everything around and then renumbered them. So he managed the shooting very well. The media management, if he's referring to the files and offloading or dumping the footage, right? The same way Blake had the scene names, scene 1A, and then the title, church, for example, church, night, interior, blah, blah. There was a folder for that. On my laptop, on a hard drive,
Okay.
You don't want to risk losing anything.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and it has to be handled by someone you can trust.
Yeah.
And I was that person, and Jamali should be that person. Don't give it to anyone else.
Yeah, he said logging, categorizing, even in terms of the files.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think I answered that probably. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've worked as an editor for many years, and your file structure and all that, it's crucial in order for you not to have 100 panic attacks in post-production.
Right, exactly. So my structure, I got this idea from this formula from YouTube, which is to review all the footage, choose what you need, and then put it into a folder for each scene. So scene 1A would be built, exported. Scene 1B, built, exported. And we had 32 scenes.
And then you lined all of those on the timeline and rendered that out.
Correct.
Okay. Cool.
How would you do it?
What's that?
How you do something similar, or?
Yeah, well, for films that are that long, I mean, I've edited. It would just be one documentary feature film.
Which one was that?
What's that?
Which feature?
It was about it's about Palestine, actually.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, it was a project I worked on about 4 years ago. It's called On This Land. And yeah, it was a really incredible project. It was different because they were really experimenting with vision and gaze and what that means. So it was a lot of sort of observational type stuff. So it was, in terms of editing, it was really an incredible experience, because it was a film that was made in the edit. It was like they had a bunch of footage that they'd shot in a particular way. And then it was very politicized how they were using the camera. And so it was really a lot my job to kind of figure out how we would move through this space through the edit, how long we would stay in certain places, and it was an amazing experience. And I probably would say that editing is my favorite part of the filmmaking process, for sure. I love editing. It's like,
Yeah, me too. That's when you can really enjoy it coming to life.
yeah, and it's like magic, you know, and
It
somewhere
is. It
in there,
is.
it's like there's this incredible cohesion, you know, there's like, and I love that challenge of like, where is it? Like, where is that point where
Yeah.
all of this stuff comes together in this way?
Yeah, and it makes you feel so good when it does, right? When it
Yes,
does come
yeah.
together.
And you're like,
I
yes.
find the software becomes my world when I'm editing. Like you're just in there and nothing else really exists at the moment. My Final Cut Pro, I use Final Cut Pro. It's I don't know if there's dark mode, but it's all dark mode, grays and
Yeah,
charcoals and blacks.
yeah,
And I feel like that's my room,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I worked briefly for the I don't know if you've heard of this documentary called Free Solo, but it won the Oscar a couple years ago. Anyway, I worked for that production company briefly when they were making that film, and the editor's room was like, I mean, the film is incredible because it's about this guy called Alex Honnold who climbs like Yosemite. And in Yosemite, he climbs that free solo, so no ropes, nothing.
Oh, wow.
And it's
Okay.
like insane, and it was made in collaboration with National Geographic, and they have all
Oh,
these sensor cameras on the wall,
right.
and he's like this, just like this mad dude who reads like 10 books a day, and
Yes, I saw that film advertised through that guy who played the, oh my God. He met the actress Ryan. He played Joker before
Phoenix.
the one before Joaquin Phoenix in Suicide Squad.
Mm,
I'm bad with names, boy. Jared Leto. Is it Jared
okay.
Leto? No, Jared Leto. Yeah, Jared Leto. Yeah,
Yeah.
he free climbed with the guy you're referring to.
Yeah, so you know, I mean, part of what I was doing for that film is I did a lot of like transcribing and sort of like finding archival footage and these sorts of things. So
Okay,
I had to
cool.
like
Wow.
transcribe like loads of these interviews that he's having with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend is like, I don't want you to die, and he's like, well, this is who I am, so if you want to be with me,
Wow.
then you know. And he's just kind of this dude that he's very blunt and to the point, and they did these brain scans on him, and he just doesn't really have like the same fear receptors in his brain. Like fear doesn't work in the same way in his mind. And they talk about all of these other people who they know who have fallen and died, and you know, it's like this huge thing. And really at the, you know, sort of the root of it is like this, you know, this incredible capacity that some human beings can have to like put themselves in these super extreme situations, you know. Anyway, I digress.
Wow.
it's a,
No,
it's
no, it's very cool.
it's a really cool film. It was an amazing experience to work on that. But the editor had this room like, and they probably had like at the peak of it maybe 4 or 5 editors working on it, maybe even more, 6. But the main editor had this room, and he had the whole story structure mapped out on the wall, just like incredibly intricately, and there were just like shelves and shelves and shelves of transcriptions, and you know, screens and stuff. And I walked in there and I was like, this is because I think as well, like I love to be kind of, you know, I guess like in a dark room, kind of like by myself working on something. So I think like that's what I love that about editing too. But this, you know, that space was just so cool. Like that idea of like just shutting off the world and just being,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love it, love it.
That's cool.
Well, yeah, I guess we should wrap it up.
Sure.
Any more pearls of wisdom?
If a cockroach scuttles behind you, It can indicate a difficult time ahead, but through it, you will achieve great success. I'm making another movie. It's gonna be another difficult time ahead.
Yeah. Well, we can't wait to see what's coming up next for you. And yeah, thank you so much for being here with us. It was a great chat.
For sure.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Aiko, I really appreciate that. You're doing a wonderful thing for St. Vincent and the Grenadines and for the region.
Thank you.
And I'm glad it's you who's doing it with your team, your fantastic team that's with you and behind you. And the other thing is it couldn't be anyone else but you on your team, I must say. Yeah, and in the interview that Soho House posted, you said that you wanted, no, I'm not talking about the joke I made. You said you want people to be able to experience themselves on the screen because they're used to seeing US and British. And I have that exact same feeling. I agree with the same thing.
Yeah.
When I was at the premiere in Barbados when we first did it, one, sitting in his seat is wow, we just did it and I'm sitting in front of a sold out premiere. And then boom, it started and everyone was just like in awe of seeing local places they're familiar with, you know?
Yeah.
So you're providing a stepping stone, you're providing a platform, and I must commend you and everyone with Hairouna Film Festival. And I hope you guys never stop. I wish you guys years upon years to come.
Thank you.
And I know it's 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna shut up.
Thank
Or
you.
4.
I do want to say thank you to you and Beachcombers for your support, and like you've been there from the beginning, being very present, and also to big up the team, Olivia Stevens, Karen De Freitas, Beth Gallagher. You know, this team is like, I don't even have the words for it.
I can imagine. Yeah.
But of course, you know, like we're one part of it, and people like you, the filmmakers, are the other part of it, because you know there's no film festival without the film. So I see it really being a kind of a mutual thing, and yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, thank you everybody who joined and asked questions, and yeah, we'll see you all at the next screening tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Aiko. Good night. Get some rest.
Yeah.
See you. Bye.